record this bit. Just for the recording's sake, I'm going over how to abstract this fish thing, this like fish object into a function so we can repeat it. And one of the things that's going to be useful here is creating a group, which is something that we haven't talked about yet. So let's go to 3js.org and go to documentation and look at a group. And so a group is basically just a way of putting um, together different components into one group so you can move that group around. And that's a actually really useful way to make things like this fish that we want to repeat in different places that have like repeatable components, like this tail part or the body B part is 2 parts away from, or 2 units away from the main body part. So let's do that. Let's add in a group. So I'm going to say constant fish group, and I'm going to make that a new 3.group. And let's see, what do I need to add for the group? So I guess I don't really need to add anything in there. Okay. So then instead of setting the position of my fish, I'm just going to set the position of my group. So I'm going to copy this like cube dot position here and paste it up here and change cube to fish group. So now I don't have to set the position of the cube. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to add the fish group to the scene. I'm going to say scene.add fish group. And then I'm going to add my cube to the fish group instead of the scene. So now if I move the fish group, I don't have to worry about, moving each individual part. So I should have gone over this before because this is actually pretty useful. So, okay, so now I have this group. I can add in this first part of the body, which is the cube. And then instead of adding the second part to the scene, I'll add it to the group. And now it'll be relative to the group. So instead of having to set the position in this absolute way here, what I can do is I can just figure out what's the difference in the position. So really it's just this y and y are the same, z and z are the same. The only difference is this x here. So I'll just change x to 4, which is the difference, 8 minus 4. And so now, look, my fish still looks the same, but I can move it, which is actually pretty cool. Like if I say x plus 2, something like that, 2 of these parts are going to move, but the other part's not going to move. So anyway, so let's return this to how it was. And okay, so this color is different than this color. So that's our second color. So let's grab that. So that's like our tail color, I guess. So I'll say tail color. And so then I'll grab this and paste it in here. And so that, and then I'll have to replace this here, tail color. Okay, so that still looks good. Oh, and then these 6s, okay, so that's like the size. I'm actually going to assume, I'm not going to worry about the size for now. I'm going to assume all fish are the same size. So I'm going to take this out. And if we want to make size something we can change, we can do that later. But for now, I think it's going to be simpler just to leave the size as hard-coded. So I'm going to set these back to 10, 10, 10. Okay, so then we just have the tail left. Oh, we also have bubbles. Sorry, this is probably going to take longer than I thought, but that's okay. So let's put in the tail. And so again, with this tail, now we just have to set it relative to the group. So 8 is the same, so the y is the same. 14 is the same, so z is the same. And this 11, the difference between 11 and 4 is 7, I think. And so now if we add the tail to the fish group instead of the scene, that should put us in the right place. There we go. That looks good. Um, so now we have to see if we can abstract this. Oh no, now we have to add the bubbles. Okay, so we have a bunch of bubbles. Um, let's see. Okay, it's a sphere. They all have the same color, so I'm not going to worry about the color argument. And I'm gonna, okay, so only one fish has bubbles. So let's set the bubbles are going to move a little bit, but I think that's okay. So um, let's grab these bubbles and add them to our fish function. And I'm going to just format this automatically. So we have the bubble geometry. So the bubble geometry is always the same. So we don't need to repeat this. So I'm going to get rid of these because it's always 1, 4, 6. So I'm going to get rid of these. Oops. Where'd I go? Here we go. Oh, wait. Let's format it again. I don't know what happened there. I think I hit undo or something. Okay. So the bubble geometry is always the same. Since it's always just a sphere geometry with 1, 4, and 6. So I'm going to delete these extra bubble geometries. We don't need these. The bubble material is always the same, so we're going to get rid of these. And the bubble sphere is different, so that's good. So we have bubble 1, bubble 2, and bubble 3. And so let's get clean this up just a bit. And now we're going to add our bubbles to our fish group instead of our scene, and we can place them relative to the fish. So, uh-oh, we got an error. Let's check our console. Why can't I click on the logs? Okay, it won't, for some reason it won't let me click on the logs. Let's refresh the page. Okay. Oh, that's not actually my, okay, we need the debugger. Okay, that's not what I want. Let's get rid of that. Okay, let's go back to script.js, close the logs, and I'll just open this in another window and open up the console here. But, oh, okay, this is my fault. I did not replace. Okay, so now that we deleted the other geometries and materials, we need to make sure that we're using the right variables. So we have bub geo and bub material, bub geo, bub material. Now we should be back. Okay, there's our bubbles. And so that looks pretty good, actually. I don't think we need to adjust those at all. And now the bubbles will be relative to the fish. So if we want to move like if I want to move the bubbles over a little bit, I could like say like 5 instead of 2 or whatever. Need to have a comma there. Uh-oh, I hit the insert key. Oh no. How do I get out of that?
Add an ins over delete in the keyboard.
Yeah, I think I fixed it, hopefully. Okay. Anyway, so we can see that little bubble moved over there, but that's not really where I want it, so let's just leave it where it is. Okay, so now I think we've recreated everything that we need with the fish. So now the question is, can we create the second fish with our function? So I'm going to make a new fish function, And I'm going to take the material color from the main fish body. Okay. Um, and I'm going to take this color from the fish second part of the body or tail, and then I'm going to just take the position of this main fish and paste it in there. And let's see. So if we did it right, okay, we can see there's like a fish inside of this other fish, um, but I don't think it's the right color. So we'll have to fix that. Um, oh, yeah, the tail has to be, but I think the tail is actually the body color. I think I switched that around. Anyway, okay, so now I think there's a fish there. So let's delete the rest of my fish2 code. And now let's see. Okay, now we have two fish. For some reason, the color seems to have changed a little bit. That seems weird. Did I copy the right colors? And I think it's also like rotated maybe. Is there a rotation? Um, fish2. I think that's right. Okay, so if I'm just gonna comment this out. Okay, there's definitely a second fish, but I'm not sure why, and we see the bubbles there, so that's good. I'm not sure why it's not rotated, or how it was rotated in the first place, I guess is the question. Um, but yeah, I think that's basically the idea. And then if we want to create more fish, whoops, if I want to create more fish, I can just keep using this function. So I'm just going to copy the yellow fish and just move it on. Oh, I'm still in insert mode. How do I get out of insert? There we go. Okay, let's just move this fish over here. Okay, that wasn't far enough. Let's move it to 0 on X. Let's move it to negative 40X. Okay, so now we have like another fish. So anyway, yeah, that was kind of like a long explanation, but I think it's a good thing to cover is essentially if I want to abstract an object so I can recreate it a bunch of times, the process is sort of like what I kind of just went over, which is basically figure out what are the things that are similar and what are the things that are different. And so you need to create arguments for the things that are different, like the position. We didn't end up using size. The size is the same for each one, but the color and the position is different. And if you want to make other changes, then you have to figure out how to abstract those as well, which is a little tricky. But if that's something, if anybody else wants to do something similar, I'm happy to go over it at some point. But anyway, let me save this and I'll share it. I'll put it in the chat. Let me give it a specific name. Settings, edit. Um, this is function abstraction example. Okay, and I'll put this in the chat so you guys can see this code. And the other thing about this is that's useful is the group thing, because I think I haven't gone over that before. And using groups in Three.js is actually really useful for creating like a location. So a group doesn't have any objects or geometry. It's just like basically a location that has stuff attached to it. So then you can move the group around and it moves everything that's attached to it. So that actually is a lot easier than trying to figure out, how far do I want these things to be? And then if I want to recreate it somewhere else, how do I, do the same thing somewhere else? Um,
So groups is usually useful when you have a couple of other objects in one thing that you want to recreate.
Yeah. Like when I was doing the tree example, I should have used a group for that. It would have made a lot more sense to create a group and then, move it from there. Um, the other one is like the bench that I created in the editor. That is, I actually did create, I think, a group because I created the bench and then I had each part inside of it. So I actually did create a group there, just not in the code. So yeah, whenever you have like a bunch of geometries that form one object, it's a good idea to use a group. Okay, so that took kind of a while, but Janine was also asking about why the materials weren't loading into um, this submarine thing, which I don't actually know. We can take a look at the model and see. So here's the model. I'm assuming that this is the model that's being used for the submarine. And so let's see, there's some geometry, uh, and then there's a material, mesh standard material, and that all looks good. I don't see anything wrong with that. Um, okay, there's a few materials. Huh. Yeah, I'm not really sure why, because it's just showing up as white. So I may have to spend a little more time looking at this before I know. Oh, wait, let me stop recording. I forgot I was recording.